Hi everyone. The Pink Box is a subscription service for everything you need on your period. We curate a bunch of healthy snacks, healthy sweets, a bunch of other goodies that are bound to make you feel happy and joyful during your period. We also retail a couple of mental well-being and intimate hygiene products. Everything is chemical free and all natural. And here we have with us Janvi Chitalia, who is a gut and functional nutritionist. She's here to answer all your questions, anything that you may have about health and hygiene. So, Janvi, let's get started. I'll take Vijeta's question first. So, Vijeta says that she has a weak stomach, and even home cooked fresh food can trigger a severe stomachache, which will last for days. She wants to know if this is because of the gut not functioning effectively or there might be other reasons. When she has had this problem, doctors have told her only to take probiotics and no medication to address this issue. And she's not on any antibiotics for stomach infections yet. The stomach ache and the pain does settle in a few days, but she wants to know overall how she can make it better.
Right. Thank you so much, Vijeta, for the question. And I think the most important part here actually to understand from what you shared right now is I think that we need to definitely get to more of an idea or understanding of what actually primarily the issue is. So I think the lack of probably a very clear diagnosis is really the question that we need to answer here, because still you're not able to do it. It may be difficult only on the pretext of saying that there's a weak stomach, or maybe just the fact that you've been asked to only have to know what it clearly is. Now, when you said that there are a possibility, from time to time that you do tend to have a weak stomach where, there is gas or there is bloating or there is discomfort due to having a weak stomach, that again could be a sign of multiple things. It could be a sign of anything from having, say, maybe allergies or intolerances which have gone undetected till now and which are not very clear or sure about in terms of what you have. It could also be something where there is this phenomena called the leaky gut, where over the time, due to chronic inflammation and eating things which don't go down well with you, there is a possibility that they kind of cause the barrier or the lining between the gut and your the outsides of it. And what happens at that point in time is that the toxins which actually need to kind of be out of the system kind of find their way into the gut, through the food we eat, through the pollution that is there, through different things. So leaky gut, again, what happens is that it kind of makes your intestinal lining more porous, and that gives rise to an issue where you may keep feeling the gas and the bloating. Another possibility again could be to do with the fact that you may have something like an intestinal or maybe depending on where you tend to have more bloating, if it's the upper stomach or the lower stomach, wherever it is, there is also a very strong possibility of having a yeast overgrowth or like a bacterial overgrowth. So all of these things, number one, Vijata, I'd say that first of all, only trying to use a remedy that helps you to take care of the bloating or the gas may not be enough, without really coming, or just using a probiotic may not be enough to really get to the end point of this, because you're not solving the issue from the root cause. So I'd really strongly suggest that it will actually make sense, and I'll be happy to actually sit down and talk to you at length about all your symptoms and how they present themselves. Now, sometimes even these gut symptoms may not always only present themselves as gas and bloating. They could present themselves as having maybe, say, a headache, or maybe having a skin rash, or maybe having any other issues which are not commonly related to the digestion, but they could present themselves in different ways. So really having a completely intimate understanding of that, Vijata, would be very, very important for us. And that's exactly what we want to try and work on. And like I said, I'll be happy to be able to chat with you or understand more through what we're talking about, and maybe over a call, or and then be able to really tell you what it looks like. And it may help for us to also look at some more basic form of investigation that can be done to do certain blood tests, answer to really cure this or to help you prevent these episodes from happening again, lies in actually getting the right diagnosis of what's actually going on. And I do believe that, I don't believe that, I understand that people do have different ways that their bodies behave, the different ways that their bodies, tend to have like a vulnerability to certain things versus the others. But I think it's also, it's not fair to say, okay, my stomach is weak and that's about it. I think with everything there is a solution, because, given really a chance, your body can absolutely heal. If you're given the right chance to be able to heal, the body can absolutely heal the way it needs to heal. So I think that's really what we want to try and focus on and make things better, and work around that and find you a solution.
Okay, thank you so much.
Vijita, if you have any follow-up questions, then please feel free to unmute your mic on your switch on your video, and you can address it right now. You can even put it in the chat box, whatever is convenient with you.
Yes, please do. If you have any follow-up questions, please ask. Yeah.
No, I'll send it in the chat box, and because I basically, Janvi, you've explained it quite well, but I think it needs further investigations and probably blood tests and things like that. So I'll look into that and probably get in touch. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'd actually be happy, if you'd like, I can get on a call with you and actually help you understand what kind of a workup you would probably need, and probably even try to understand a little more in terms of a detailed history, or in terms of what are the symptoms which are regularly there, what symptoms are there from time to time. So just getting into more details of that will actually probably help us give you at least a virtual diagnosis of this, and then maybe document to 100% make sure that there is a clear-cut diagnosis with follow-up tests, and then treat the issue. So, I'm happy to be able to help you with that. So, so if you'd like to email via pink box or however it is, or you'd like to, I think, Sanjana, can send my number also to her, and whichever way that you'd like to, I'm happy to help.
Yeah,
because
I think
I see cases like this on a day-to-day basis. So what you're saying to me doesn't sound new at all. It's very common in the way that it presents itself. But like I said, because our bodies are so unique, there is definitely a need to look at it more closely for each person. And yes, to answer one more thing that you asked is, there is an indefinite, for sure, there is a microbiome or a gut imbalance. Because it's just that it's presenting itself like that, but this is definitely a sign that the good bacteria balance in your gut versus the harmful bacteria balance is definitely disturbed in the gut, and that really gives rise to these issues in the first place. So we definitely want to try and learn more about that, and how does it work in your case is something which we need to learn more about.
Okay, sure.
All right, Janvi. So moving on to the next question, a couple of our followers have asked this on a repeated basis. What are some foods we can eat to aid us in losing belly fat easily?
Correct. So I think, yes, that has been a common concern for most people, to kind of have like feeling lean on the stomach and feeling nice and feeling like you can feel comfortable around the midriff area has been a major concern for a lot of people. So I'm just going to break that down before I talk about the foods that would help. We need to understand that a gut imbalance primarily, in a way where there is, like I said, then where there is an imbalance in the good and the bad bacteria, which so are basically our gut houses a microbiome, which is beneficial and harmful bacteria. They live in a balance, and actually that's great. We also do need harmful bacteria, or I'd rather say the bad bacteria, also to live in a balance in our gut. It's only when they go excessively off is when they tend to cause a problem. So number one, the reason for having the belly fat in the first place is to see that there is inflammation or internal swelling rather of the body, and which is really a harmful place to start, because that's really the start of a sign of any disease, from like diabetes to blood pressure to cancer. It all starts with inflammation in the body, and this is, carrying excess fat around the midriff is really a major sign of inflammation. So Number one, you want to kind of obviously correct your microbiome, correct the balance of your microbiome, and reduce your inflammation levels, which will really be helpful. That's number one. So how could you do that with the top couple of foods and what you can add in to improve your gut? I'll share all of that. So three recommendations that I'd like to make straight together is to be able to add things which are like thermogenic foods. So primarily your good fats like your omega-3 or your monounsaturated fatty acids, like you have, you're looking at your olive oil, or you're looking at rice bran, or any of these are really your primary looking at the good fats, which actually, when you want to actually burn these in the body when you eat them, the body actually needs to burn out a lot of heat and takes a lot more time for it to break down. So in process of that, the heat that is generated gives this kind of a process of thermogenesis out, and which is, which kind of makes you burn more calories in a way. So also when you eat food which takes longer to digest, you also do burn more calories. So protein, your fiber like your vegetables and fruits, and good fats like your omega-3, like your flaxseed, chia seeds, fish, walnuts, and even the monounsaturated fatty acids are three foods that you want to eat more, then eating more of sugars, or then eating more of carbs, or eating a larger quantity of carbs, and obviously eating better quality of carbs. So like maybe moving from rice or a wheat to a jawar or a nachni or something like that, or portion sizing how much carb you're eating at one time. Or when you have sweet cravings, you try to have maybe say sweet vegetables like sweet potato or yam or things like that, then really going in for a sweet. So kind of really making those healthier choices which are higher on fiber will help you cut down the belly fat and naturally improve the metabolic burning process of your body. And last but not the least, really adding probiotics is very important, because they are the ones that help you get the beneficial bacteria back into balance. So the beneficial bacteria is very, very important, like I said, for the effective functioning, from immunity to metabolism, to your mood. All of these factors are actually managed really, really well by the same. So I think it's very important that microbiome needs to be balanced. And for probiotics, you can have things like yogurt, kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi. You can have fermented vegetables. You can have miso, which is a like fermented soy, and you could, so all of these things can be had. Also you can have a probiotic supplement if you can't really get your hands on putting all of these together. So that would really help to be able to balance back the bacteria balance, or microbiome balance, and help you lose weight more effectively.
Right. So increasing our carb intake, but still having portion control.
So not increase the carb intake. You can
Okay.
continue the carb intake with better quality carbs, and obviously
Right.
always being mindful of not overdoing it.
All right. All right. All right. Okay. Perfect. So the next question that we've seen very, very often, Janvi, is what are some aids to constipation? So I'm not 100% sure whether our one of our audience, I'm not sure whether she asked what can we do to aid constipation or to kind of remove constipation. So I mean, if you could, yeah, help us with both of those.
Right. So I think the important part in terms of constipation, firstly, I'd like to, as as a gut expert, I think one thing I'd like to really clarify for everybody here who's, a part of this right now and are hearing this. Constipation doesn't practically mean that there is, that we always have known that constipation is, oh, I'm not past motion, and that is constipation. When you don't go for a day, it's constipation. But ideally, constipation is unsatisfactory bowel in any way. So even if you've gone twice and you feel you haven't been able to clear out well enough, or the fact that when you go to the loo and you need to sit really long, or the amount of pressure that is required for you to actually expel, these are really factors that actually decide whether you have constipation. So the traditional only way of saying, oh, I'm constipated, is not the only thing anymore. Keeping a balance and knowing that in the first place that you could be constipated is the sign number one that you need to know to figure this out. Secondly, constipation is very dangerous, and it's like a silent epidemic that we have, which people have not even realized. People have gone years and years without solving the issues of constipation and learning to live with it, through some kadas and through some, kind of all these, like concoction powders and things like that, which is all right. But, I think it's so important to get back the normal functioning, because that's something your body innately knows how to do, which is to clear constipation and to have a normal bowel movement. You've learned that as from the time that you came as a child. You've actually kind of almost innately learned that, and you like the need to have food and to be able to clear your system. So I think having so much difficulty to do something which is natural is definitely not a good sign. What you could do for that one is to add more soluble fiber, like things like oats. You could add some barley. You could add psyllium husk. All of these are ways that you can actually add more fiber. Obviously, also adding normal, like a vegetable soup or vegetables to your diet, which is insoluble fiber. A combination of both of those are important. Secondly, adding more water. My top tip would be that you could try and have like a warm water with some jeera after your meal. If you think that you're not able to pass motion or the motions are too hard, they'll help you soften up the stool. And another thing that I'd like to really say is that you can try and have more magnesium rich foods. So something called a milk of magnesia is also recommended by a lot of doctors eventually when people have a chronic constipation issue. So natural sources of magnesium to help calm the nerves of your gut and help you go better. Things like dairy, green leafy vegetables, nuts, seeds, all of these are sources of magnesium and they will help you go better. And overall, I think just staying in the right state of mind, sleeping well, and having enough water along with fiber is the key to do that.
Right, absolutely. And it's always so important to hydrate, and sometimes that ends up getting missed, during summers especially.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All
So,
right,
I
Jan.
totally
Yeah,
agree with you. So, ensure that you do that always.
definitely, definitely. So we'll move on to the next segment, Janvi, which is work from home. A lot
Mhm.
of us have been doing work from home for almost 3 months now. And some of us may have to continue that for maybe another 20 days, 30 days, we're not
Mhm.
sure yet. So, what are some snacks that we can have during breaks or during our work from home breaks? Snacks that you think might be light, might not be too heavy, might not make you sluggish, etc.
So, number one, I think it's very important to understand that when you're working from home, there is definitely an unsaid, um, rather to get the right word, maybe say an unsaid convenience that is available, because you know that the kitchen is right there. Not like we didn't have it in our offices or in our canteens and things like that. But I think just being home and the comfort of not having to worry and just go to the kitchen is something that really gets us to kind of not think a lot of times and eat things which we probably wouldn't eat otherwise. So number one, I'd suggest that it's very important to understand whether you want to do a sweet intake or a salted intake. So I do believe that your body traditionally always will tell you what it really needs in terms of the requirements that it has. If you're really craving, like if your body really needs natural sugar, it will tell you you need sweet. If your body really needs salt, it will tell you it needs something salted or spicy or whatever that it needs accordingly. So listening and tuning into your body's needs and deconstructing those cravings to understand what physiologically actually your body needs is very important. Number one. Number two, definitely every option that you want to eat, maybe you which you know is healthy or unhealthy, we know to everything there is a better option that you can always choose. So for example, for sweets, if when you are feeling the need to have something sweet, I think like a smoothie bowl or having like a fruit smoothie or fruit and yogurt, or probably trying to do like a dry fruit, some nuts and some yogurt together, or you try to kind of have some sweet vegetables like sweet potato or yam, and you kind of just roast them nicely and have them, or you do air fry them and have them. Trust me, they will be an amazing substitute to actually eating something which is completely processed white sugar, which isn't good for your body at all. So you can try and do that. For the people who like salted food, very important, you could try and do things like maybe you could do a makhana, together, or you could do like a sprout, like a sprout salad or whatever. For the people who like something crispy, they can also try to do, maybe you can make some homemade khakra If gluten, you're not gluten sensitive, then you could probably use some wheat and break down the khakra and make a chaat out of that, and add as many more vegetables and spices to it to make it more tasty and more delicious the way just you would like it. Because I do believe that it's the flavor that lies in the spices that makes it tasty. It's not the food primarily that you're eating, which is fried or not, which does that, but it's really the spices that give it that taste. So you could even try and have that. You can have a chana salad. So all of these are options that you can try and do.
Okay, great. That's amazing. All right, we have a message in the chat box. Good evening to you too, Priya. So, Janvi, we'll move to the next question, which is regarding work from home workouts. So, what are some snacks or fruits or beverages that we can have pre-workout? And similarly, what is good to eat post-workout?
Right. So, pre-workout and post-workout, there's a very simple rule to keep in mind for pre and post-workout. So, pre-workout, there needs to be food that actually stays in your system, or rather, which is the right word to use is slow-released food, which stays in your system, so that it kind of helps you to slowly and gradually use that energy during your workout and doesn't kind of get over in just 15 minutes of grabbing a meal before workout. So,
Right, right.
we've traditionally been known, okay, we have banana before workout. So that may actually give you instant energy to kind of jump up and do another 5 sets, but that won't last long enough because, it's kind of high sugar. So I'd always suggest something like maybe like a oats or something before is very, very important. Or you could have like a slow released carb and maybe some egg whites with some yolk, or you could do some maybe people who are okay with having a protein shake, or maybe even a vegan protein, whatever suits, can have like a protein. Or for lack of better option, if some of y'all don't eat eggs, don't do protein, then maybe some almond milk or some yogurt. All of these actually can be had, which will also be helpful. You can try to have those, and they will help, and they kind of slow down the process of the way that the carb and the protein stays in your system. Also, having a B complex before your workout, like a B capsule, will help you extract energy from the food that you've eaten and do a better workout. So something like a B complex 15 to 20 minutes before, and having your pre-workout about 45 minutes to 1 hour, or for some people 1.5 hours before, depending on the strenuous workout or how intense the workout is. You want to do that. Post workout, for the people who are looking at fat loss, you want to try and actually eat within this 20-minute window period, which is there right after your workout that you finish. So you want to have something. So if you're looking at fat loss, then you may want to have something like nuts, or maybe a date or dry fruits or something, which has a little bit of sugar and can give you quick energy back, but they're not very, very high on sugar, or not like a melon juice, or not like a glucose water, which is for people who are really doing advanced workouts. So you could do things like maybe almonds or walnuts, a mix of that, or a couple of, you could put that together as a post workout meal. And then after that, you can have maybe a protein shake again in water, or or you can have egg whites after that. These are the two best options. And the meals that you have post workout need to be fast absorbed, because they need to go into your muscle, and in that window of opportunity, which is 20 minutes to 30 minutes after your workout, is the prime time where you need the food and the nutrition to go in, so that your recovery is top notch. So, and after your workout, you can always integrate the regular vitamin C 500 mg and vitamin E 400 IU. You can integrate these for better recovery.
All right, amazing. I think that 20-minute window is something we really need to be very attentive towards. And thank you so much for the tip about because use Janvi. I think I'm definitely going to keep that in mind. Not only for work from home, or post work from home workouts, but also later on, when we will probably, hopefully, hit the gym very soon again.
Yes.
All right, so I'm just going to take one question from Priya, who's an attendee. What should be the diet for healthy kidneys?
So I think the most important thing, Priya, to keep in mind with kidney health. So see, kidney specifically is in itself a very, very huge kind of a field of specializations, and with everything from maybe a CKD to having high uric acid to having high creatinine. A lot of factors are really, really important to understand for any kind of recommendation specifically, because each of them have a different recommendation and that needs to be looked in very, very cautiously. But overall, as a health, overall health of your kidneys, it's very important to ensure that you're managing a good amount of, you want to always ensure that you're having water, but you're not overdoing. So there are people who tend to do like about liters of water, try to 2 liters at one time at one go. You want to try and understand that your kidney is the one that really kind of, kind of puts that entire water, it's supposed to filter it out and then send it out of your body. So that puts a lot of pressure on your body. So you want to try and be able to be mindful of not drinking too much water at one time, at the same time hydrating well. Another major factor that we forget when we eat the processed foods or when we pick up fried foods from outside, or sometimes we tend to do a lot more salt in our regular food, or sodium rather in our regular food. It's so important to realize that your kidneys really take a beating when you do high salt or high additive based foods. So anything which is a packaged food will put more pressure on your kidneys. So you want to try and be able to be mindful of the salt. We have variations today where we have more low sodium availability of salts which carry lesser sodium levels, like a pink salt or a rock salt could be tried. Also very important to keep the potassium balance for a healthy kidney. So not over potassium, because the sodium potassium balance is really important again for the kidney. Potassium comes primarily through your fruits and vegetables. So again, overdoing, like people who are just on green juices and green detoxes, they could be putting in a lot of pressure on the kidneys by adding in a lot more potassium into the system. So you want to try and be able to be mindful of that. And overall, making sure that you have a good urine output. There's not a lessened urine output or a lessened urine leakage or any of that is very, very important. There isn't swelling or edema from time to time on your feet. Kind of every morning you wake up, there's a lot of swelling around your legs, or all of that. So you want to try and or maybe swelling under the eye or whatever. You want to try and figure those things out to ensure your kidney is working well. So they may just be some signs. I'm not saying that they are the only signs, but at least it'll help you see whether you know that your kidneys are functioning well or not. Especially even more for diabetics or for people who have hypertension, or watching the kidney health from time to time, having a clear checkup of your levels is very important.
All right, and Priya is mentioning specifically for CKD.
Right. So I think, see, again, I would again suggest, Priya, that it's important to understand what more, in terms of CKD, what kind of level is it at, how long has it been. It's very important to understand the current levels to be able to give any kind of a feedback on that. So I again personally suggest that if you need to, we could talk on the phone, or we could understand more in detail, because again, with that, I think kidney, like I said, is a specialization where every gram that you put in or don't put in really counts. So I wouldn't want to comment on that without really knowing the current levels of the person you're asking it for. It may be absolutely wrong on my part to give a general guideline on that. So it's very, very patient, or it's very, very person specific. And depending on obviously the amount of creatinine levels that you have and what kind of EGFR do you have, those things are important.
All right. So for Priya, I've again put Janvi's details on the chat box. We have one more question for Sarah, but looks like she dropped off right now. But let's take it anyway. Some simple home remedies for stomach disturbances due to stress or work pressure.
So some simple home remedies. So stomach disturbance, especially when you tend to have maybe when you tend to have a loose stomach, or when you tend to kind of need to go maybe a couple of times, something similar to an irritable bowel syndrome. From what you're saying, I think the most important thing first of all to do is to ensure that you're having a good amount of you need to ensure that you're actually giving your digestive system some time to kind of rest in the middle, because I think just eating again and again can put a lot of pressure on your digestive system. So first of all, being mindful of eating enough at one time and then taking a break and not eating for some time is something I would recommend, like keeping it to a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and letting your digestive system calm down and take a little bit of a break and do its work function effectively is one thing that I would suggest. Number two, I would also suggest that you want to try and obviously understand what kind of a stool type that you have from time to time. Like if you have a very, very loose stool, or there's like a cramping in the stomach or whatever, from time to time because of, work stress or overall home stress. I'd suggest that trying to really meditate or maybe try and do some breathing exercises would also be very, very helpful because that'll calm the nerves of the system down. My top tip for this to use something which will probably almost immediately start helping you as you start doing it for a couple of days is to try and have aloe vera. Aloe vera is really great in calming down the nerves of the gut when you're kind of you know kind of feeling unnerved or feeling even your gut. Obviously your gut is really the center of all your emotions in a way, because it's like the brain gut connection that we have kind of delivers all those excitement, fear, stress, all of that kind of a communication happens from your brain to your gut. So the aloe vera will really help you calm down the nerves of the gut and help you deal with this better. So I think that will be helpful to use maybe 15 ml of aloe vera with that much amount of water as a shot, and try to have it first thing in the morning, or try to have it more closely around empty stomach without having something along with it for at least about 35 to 40 minutes minimum.
All right, Janvi, thank you. And so the last question from my end, and then we'll open it up to the attendees. What are some foods that refresh us? Foods as well as beverages that we can kind of consume. It'll give us that kick, and then we can get back to our work or whatever our activities are.
Right. So I think for foods, I would definitely suggest that you want to try. And I think the most refreshing foods, literally, which are nutrient dense and are great for our system, is really fruits, because they do carry a lot of phytonutrients. So fruits and vegetables actually are the ones that truly refresh our body, because they carry the rainbow effect, like we call it, the rainbow spectrum that we have, from the blues to the purples and the orange, yellow, red, all of those. That is really all of these carry, each phytonutrient in a way carries a special function, and they really help increase overall energy, vitality, and they really help to boost up your body completely because of the kind of varied antioxidants, nutrients that they bring with them, along with them on the plate. So I'd say that is a good option to do. Different colored fruits and vegetables are really the key to really keep your body refreshed, keep your immunity high, and keep so much more vitality, have great skin, have great hair. All of these are possible through having more phytonutrients, and try and eating more colors, not just greens, and not just try and have a little more of oranges and the reds and the purples, and all of that as a mixture, and that's much better. And in terms of beverages, I'd suggest things like you could definitely maybe like a basic lime water with some sabja and mint is a great option to kind of cool your system down. Or you can try and do things like even I think what's getting popular now is kefir and kombucha are also great probiotics for you to be able to add. And if dairy is something that does not do well with you and you can't have a kefir, you can even try to do a coconut kefir, which is there'll be a dairy free kefir. So that's another option that you can try and have, which is great for your gut microbiome and overall will help you cool and calm down your body. So you could definitely try that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Janvi. I'll now leave it open for Priya and Vijeta. In case you guys have any questions at all, you can unmute your mic, you can start your video, and we can discuss it right away. Okay, so okay, we'll wait for Priya and Vijeta to answer, and we're also waiting for a couple of people still to join. Janvi, if we had another amazing session with you last week about hormones and gut health. So do you think we can delve into that a little bit again?
Sure. So I'll be happy to share a little bit more about how gut health and hormones, and it's a great opportunity to talk about so many different things related to gut health and hormone health. But like I was mentioning the last time, I'd love to share a little bit more again about how So your gut bacteria actually play a very important role in the amount of estrogen that we carry. So estrogen primarily is your female primary hormone that we have, is progesterone and estrogen. And like I said, a lot has been said, and a lot has been spoken about PCOD, about testosterone being high, but I think there is still lesser that's been spoken about. Another driving problem today, which is estrogen dominance, and the gut bacteria actually have a major role to play in being able to ward off or ensuring that the excess estrogen is kind of flushed out of our body. So again, to maintain the fact that you have to have a good estrogen kind of a balance is very, very important in order to see that that your body is functioning well. So and also for that, keeping a good probiotic balance of your good bacteria is also equally important. So it's via the good bacteria and the gut bacteria which are sufficient in the body, and you manage to keep the balance. It's the liver which helps the pathway to be able to the excessive estrogen is taken care of or carried out and flushed out forward by the help of the liver pathway, because liver is really what metabolizes everything and helps you cleanse. Again, to have a better liver today I'd like to talk about, because that has a direct connection with your gut bacteria and your estrogen balance and overall your metabolism and how you burn fat and all of that put together, which is so important to us for a hormone balance. You want to try and look at maybe how you could incorporate things like apples, avocados, beets, carrots are great for actually helping your liver detox itself and feel much better. Keeping our liver happy is really the key, because sometimes we look at, oh, I have a hormonal imbalance, I have a high insulin, but we try to treat all of that. We probably take medication, we try to watch our diet, but we also forget that actually at the baseline of all of this is really the liver, which also needs some help, that being the main organ which helps you metabolize and break down the food that you're eating. So it's so important to kind of assist your liver and ensure that you're really working on a healthy kind of a healthy liver functioning. Apart from that, cooked cruciferous vegetables, so like broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage and kale and all of these, Brussels sprouts are great options to have for your liver, which really helps you cleanse your liver better. Apart from that, the herbs that you can add to improve your liver is like cilantro, which is coriander, can be used, or you could do a coriander juice. You can, how we use coriander to kind of, garnish our stuff. We could use that. That's another option. Even milk thistle is a really, really good supplement, which is available now in the market for many few years now, actually. So silymarin milk thistle is an extract from a plant which is supposed to be really good. So in the way that we do know of a lot of Indian doctors, they recommend they do recommend things like Live 52. So in the same way, this is like an extract which helps you bring down if you have elevated liver enzymes because you've had maybe jaundice or malaria or typhoid, or you've had high bilirubin because of typhoid, or if you've had any of this, probably because of fatty liver, if you have that, and that also is affecting your hormones, which is really, that fatty liver has a great connection with hormonal imbalance. So milk thistle will really help to be able to take care of that, and you get supplements available of that. And another potent one which we know is turmeric. So turmeric is really, really important in terms of how much, so having maybe half a teaspoon of turmeric to 1 teaspoon of turmeric divided over the day is again, and it's like a potent anti-inflammatory, and it's great for you to be able to have turmeric, and that will really help your system feel much better and overall help you even with your liver. Magnesium is something that I already spoke about in terms of how magnesium for your gut. Also, magnesium is great for your liver, so you can even try and do more magnesium in that. And last, you can try and do omega-3. So omega-3, again, like I said, chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, oily fish about 3 times a week are all options that you can add in to actually help cleanse your liver. And last but not the least, green tea has something called L-theanine and EGCG, which is also really an important compound, anti-inflammatory, great for the system to cleanse. So even green tea is a great addition that you could have to actually, kind of open up your liver and make you feel much better and overall help your liver to function better. So these are really the things you can have. Apart from that, last one more supplement that you can add is something called glutathione. glutathione is being more and more added to um, a very regular feature in people's supplement box. A lot more recently due to its effect on hair and skin. Glutathione is a very powerful antioxidant, and it's like a universal antioxidant, which is really, really, really potent, and it helps with regeneration of new cells. So as we know, liver can kind of renew itself in 21 days. Glutathione also helps you in the phase 2 of your liver detoxification. So you can get supplements of that available very readily, and that will help you overall with not just your liver, but your skin, hair, everything. So, so these are really options that you can try and have. So I think this is one more thing. So try taking care of your liver is key to managing your estrogen dominance, and obviously balancing your gut bacteria overall will help with the estrogen dominance.
Right, all right. And this is perfect, Jani, because my next question was actually regarding, since you mentioned hair, right? A lot of us
Hmm.
tend to lose hair because of stress, and I think stress and anxiety is at an all-time high right now. So, what are some
Hmm.
foods we can eat that will promote hair regrowth?
So, for hair, primarily the most important thing to understand is the hair is primarily protein, and really the building blocks of your hair is protein. So, like they say, keratin is what kind of is the hair protein that we're talking about, and so I think first of all, checking the amount of protein intake that you're having, because I think a lot of us who are also eating non-vegetarian food kind of stopped eating that or reduced our intake in the lockdown, and we were not sure whether we should have it. So a lot of protein intake has gone down again with from the angle of COVID-19 and post lockdown and all of that. Protein is one thing which is really important anyway, even all overall for immunity and continued immunity. So looking at having protein sources, whatever it could look like for you, like eggs or chicken or fish, you want to try and do the more organic chicken. You want to do maybe more of the wild caught or fish, more organic eggs. You want to do moong. You want to do, again, they're not very very high. So moong and all are not really class of proteins, but at least even then they do carry. For vegetarians, that's a very good option to have. You can have moong, or if dairy does not trouble your stomach, then you can at least do some yogurt. You could do you could definitely try and have things like maybe almonds, oats, coconut milk. All of these are again other vegan sources to try and add in your protein. Number two, you want to definitely try and be able to add selenium to your diet. Selenium again is very important. Zinc and selenium are very important for your hair and again for your immunity. So zinc and selenium primarily you get from nuts and seeds. The highest zinc is available in pumpkin seeds. So you can definitely try and have a couple of pumpkin seeds a day. Selenium also important for thyroid, and a lot of women who do have thyroid imbalance tend to see a lot of hair loss. So again, selenium comes from nuts and seeds. You want to try and be able to do more of that and have them as healthy snacks in the middle of the day, and that will help your hair. And definitely, last but not the least, having a good amount of water is very very important, because again, I think being dehydrated is really key to seeing a lot of muscle breakdown and to see a lot of catabolism. So I think we just forget when we are home or otherwise to drink enough water. A lot of times we kind of forget to sitting in one place and we keep working. So I think really increasing water intake would be helpful to take care of your hair. And apart from that, a lot of supplements which are again available, which you can take, which are vitamin mineral supplements for the hair. Even then, if you do have hair fall, then you want to check for your iron levels or your ferritin levels, your thyroid, or maybe check for your testosterone levels, because these again can have a very very great impact on the way that your hair health is. So if apart from doing the basics, if you think that something is off, the first step is to really test out and figure out even your vitamin B12 and B3 would be another way that it could represent itself as a deficiency in the way of a hair fall. So you want to definitely try and incorporate and understand where is the imbalance coming from.
All right, got it. So last question from my side, Janvi, and then it's completely up to you. With the lockdown ending slowly and in phases, we all have to be so careful about our immunity now. So what are maybe some top 5 foods from that you could suggest to us that we could have for immunity boosting purposes?
Right. So definitely, I think the top in terms of how keeping in mind, even in terms of some amount of significant or some amount of at least evidence-based literature, there are a lot of, obviously our task force and a lot of, kind of even, MD physicians and others, kind of over the world are really working around how nutrition can be such an important part of this. So, just with the recommendations basis on more study and evidence, definitely foods rich on vitamin C, like sauerkraut, cauliflower, oranges, papayas, all of these, um, vitamin C, obviously citrus fruits. All of these are really, really important to have because vitamin C has been found to be essentially important. So trying and taking it from your food and overall from a supplement is good. Number two, you want to try and add more zinc. So zinc, again, like I mentioned right now for the hair in the same way, zinc is really good for immunity, and it kind of helps you reduce the viral load that's there, so on the body. And so that's why it's really, really important. So you want to be able to use zinc more regularly, like I said, nuts, seeds, green leafy vegetables, and also your animal meats carry a lot of zinc. If you don't manage to get that much zinc in your diet, you want to try and be able to use about 50 mg of zinc. That's really the guideline that they are giving, the 50 mg of zinc. So you may want to take some supplement and some food together as a combination. Next is vitamin D3, which would be very, very important again. Vitamin D3 you get again from your animal sources or your dairy. And apart from that, vitamin D3 levels, if you haven't checked in the last 6 to 8 months, then you may want to do about, check with your physician and do maybe a 1 or 2 or 3 week courses of your D3, 60,000 units, and then follow up with a maintenance dose of 5,000 IU per day, which is again another thing that you want to try because vitamin D3 again is known to reduce the replicability of the virus. So you want to try and be able to have vitamin D3. Again, alongside with vitamin C and is vitamin E, which is also a great antioxidant, which helps reduce stress and overall make the body feel better. So you want to definitely have vitamin E also. And again, you have these vitamin C, vitamin E, and all these antioxidants are potent antioxidants are primarily found in our fruits and vegetables, in our whole grains, in our legumes, in our nuts and seeds. So having whole foods and avoiding more sugar and avoiding alcohol, avoiding or trying to have at least as least as possible of fried foods because they can instantly crash your immunity. So like they say that having alcohol literally almost to that make even one glass of alcohol can make you 8 times more susceptible to having, probably being more susceptible to catching the coronavirus. Or being obese can give you 3 times more susceptibility to be able to catching coronavirus. Having comorbidities like diabetes, blood pressure, all of these can make you 10 times more susceptible to being more susceptible to coronavirus. So keeping all these things in mind, it's important that we understand that. And last but not the least, like I mentioned, definitely your probiotics are very important. So there is something called a VSL3, which is available in the market, which you could definitely get, which is or a Flori store or a Vibact. There are many supplements which are available. And apart from that, the other sources that I mentioned. So these all, your vitamin D3, your probiotic, having your vitamin C, having zinc, or having vitamin D and vitamin E are really my recommendations alongside with your food and supplements as the mix so that you get the best of the both worlds. And
All
last
right.
but not the least, I'd just like to add in and say that it's definitely important, to be. So I think don't let anxiety take over. It's very important to understand that there is a very, very thin line between being completely paranoid and actually learning how to take disciplined, self-regulated, personal responsibility for ourselves. So being able to keep that distinction intact is really important, and it's just important not to be reckless and just to be careful. But to be anxious and to be paranoid about it is not really the answer, because that also, with the stress of this, can actually lower immunity a lot and lead to more susceptibility. So really being in the right state of mind is also a very important thing, alongside with the right food, 8 hours of sleep, well hydrated, and being able to do some form of exercise and meditation, which will help you keep your lung power in place, is really the way to go.
All right, Janvi, thank you so much. So that is all our Q&A done. Vijeta, if you have any questions, or Janvi, if you would like to add something right now, let's do that.
I think we already kind of discussed quite a bit. I think for all of you, anybody who has any questions of Vijeta, or if you do have any question, like I said, that we can definitely speak and get in touch. And like you mentioned, thank you so much, Pink Box, for having me and taking this initiative to really be able to answer all the queries for people, and really taking up this is a platform to do that. So thank you so much for that. And I think you're doing great work, so keep that up. And again, just about me, you can follow me, like she mentioned, like Sanjana mentioned, on Janvi Chitalia Official, and you all can also check out our website. That's www.janvichitalia.com. And for any other further questions, you can feel free to get in touch with us on Instagram, or on our website through email, or whichever way you'd like our number, you can get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to help you. And thank you so much. Stay safe, stay happy, and keep your gut happy. So that's
all right. Perfect. Thank you so much, Janvi. Thank you.
pleasure.
So for all of us, for all of you who are watching this on YouTube or on IGTV, we're putting all the links to read Janvi in the description underneath. And you guys can also DM us at the Pink Box anytime you'd like. So again, the Pink Box is offering a couple of mental well-being products that might help you during this time, and a couple of intimate hygiene products as well that are completely all natural. And of course, the Pink Box is always there. It's subscribed to your needs. The brand of sanitary pads or tampons you would require. We've even recently launched menstrual cups. You can scroll through our website. We'll be putting the link for that as well. And yes, thank you again, Janvi. Thank you so much. This was such an amazing session. And we look forward to hosting you for further sessions very soon.
Absolutely. The pleasure will always be mine. And thank you so much. And keep doing the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you, Janvi. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. See ya.